Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time.
This week on the Kindness Project, we talk about funny names, summer heat, and we have part 2 of our interview with Sue Fishpool from Accuro.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to an episode of
the Kindness Project. That's all we're doing here.
I am a man who is obsessed by John Dillermand. It's Chris Ames.
And I am a girl whose dad thought she didn't know about John Dillerman. It's not a test.
Well, we are not going to talk a lot about John Dillerman on the podcast, but if you are an adult, please Google John Dillerman because it may be the funniest kids show I've ever seen in my life. And that's all I'm saying about John Dillerman. Should we very quickly change the subject?
Yep.
And then you getting off your stool?
Yeah, well, it's too warm today.
All
I'm
right.
literally sticking
Did
to
you
it.
get stuck to your stool? John Dillerman's done that,
No,
apparently. Anyway, we are also joined today. No, he's on mute. He doesn't want to talk to us. Russ has joined us live, but apparently he's not getting involved in the conversation. It's Russell Dames. Hello, Russ. How are you? He's got to get involved now.
Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. Is that all I get?
Hello, mate. Yeah.
Right. Well, let's try this again. It's the man, the legend, the producer of the world's best kindness podcast. It's Russell Dames.
Russell, I hate to ask, does he have an off button?
I'm doing well.
He's doing well.
You have
Well. Right, let's
I'm having a surprisingly good start to the week. So,
amazing. Why has it been a good start?
well, we've just had a good meeting for Sabello, and then that was quite dynamic.
Yeah.
And
then you've come in and joined as a producer. So normally I should be careful because normally when we do a podcast with both Charlotte and producer Russell getting involved, I normally get loads of stick, don't I?
you
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, fair enough. Anyway, so I expect you to come in and just pop your head in every now and again with something deeply sarcastic. So the first thing we need to talk about, Charlotte,
Yeah.
it's not coming home, is it?
No.
England didn't win the Euros.
No.
Actually, the team that had the best tournament, Italy,
Yep.
probably deserved to win, won.
Yep.
I'm gutted. I'm a bit disappointed. But, we've got next year, we've got the World Cup. Russ, what do you reckon?
I think it's good progress.
Exactly. We are making progress, and that's
A lot better than we usually do.
that's what's important. Progress, not perfection, and all that is the order of the day. Talk to me about what else you've been up to, Charlotte.
Me, I'm off college for the summer. It was the last time you heard from me. I probably was the last time you heard from me. I've been off for about 2-3 weeks now, which means I've got a little while left to go, about a month or so. And then I go back. Wait, what's the date today? Scratch that, about a month and a half, and then I go back. And then I'm just going to keep cracking on. Keep on cracking on.
Keep on cracking on. Can I just talk about a little bit about podcast-related news? Because what we do like to do is update our listeners on how we're getting on. And I want to share a fun fact that Russ shared with both of us the other day. We are now listened to in 131 different countries, aren't we, Russ?
We are.
Make sure you take yourself off mute, Russ.
Yeah,
that's the secret of using Zoom. The amount of times on Zoom I've got to go, you're on mute. You're on mute. I mean, there's been meetings where I've had to say for about 5 minutes. You're still on mute. You turn yourself off mute and then you turn on mute again. What are you doing? But 131 countries, which means that 64 countries don't listen to the Kindness Project. And one of them is the Vatican City. Now, what have I done to offend the Pope? Apart from being atheist, I don't know.
Well, the Vatican's probably just got some really bad Wi-Fi, you know?
It must be. They need to get some...
I think it's where this is not recorded in Latin.
Maybe we should translate it into Latin, shouldn't we, Russ?
It sounds like a job that I'm not going to take on.
I don't
Are you
know
going to be
Latin.
our Latin translator?
No.
Now, you You say they're not very good in with Wi-Fi. The Vatican City are very tech savvy. I mean, they've even got their own payment platform, PayPal. All right, let's not go there.
No.
Let's not go there on that. So
I thought you were going to go with PayPal, but I was going to be like, yeah, you know.
So, what country are you most proud of that we're in, Raz?
There's several. I'm pleased that we use Libsyn, and we got a new platform we can pull out to now. And I'm pleased that we're getting a lot of downloads. Our third biggest downloader now is the Indian countries.
India.
Like India, all them sort of places.
India. So we're big in India, apparently.
Oddly enough, I like to think to myself that I know places like China and India listen to podcasts to learn English.
Yeah.
So
Christ on a bike, what are we doing to them?
Whoopsie daisies.
What are we doing? You do not want to be listening. I just got this image of this Indian guy coming over and somebody going, "What's your name?" It's Jagdeep, mate. What's your name?
That's exactly what I think. Microsoft tech support is a geezer talking just like you.
That would be amazing. Hello, this is Jagdeep speaking. You having a bubble?
Why is it always Jagdeep? Why is it?
It's not always Jagdeep. It's sometimes somebody think of an Indian name.
No.
Nobody's. But the reason it's always Jagdeep is because I'm the only one who's prepared to say an Indian name. Russ? Pradeep. Yeah, we know a very nice Pradeep. Sundar. I know a very nice Indian guy called Sundar.
It's too warm for this.
Do you know any Indians?
No.
You don't know one Indian?
No.
Can that be right? You don't know one person who's Indian?
That's definitely not PT.
Can we stop now?
But I'm surprised. Right, hold on. Name another country, Raz.
We've been downloaded in South Sudan.
Right, do you know any South Sudanians?
No. Funnily enough, I don't go around asking people their nationality.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough. But, right, okay, let's just test this. Do you know any English people?
Yeah.
Okay. Raz?
Yeah, I know a few English people.
Good. Any Welshies? Oh, wow. Welsans.
No.
What are they called?
Do I? I think so. I'm not sure.
I know a couple of Welsh people, Raz.
I know a Welshian, yeah.
Welshian, you know a Welshian, good. Scots.
Yes.
Any Scots, Raz?
Now, is Cassie's mum actually Scottish?
She is.
I know one.
Not for the Euros final. She actually converted to Italian for the day, but we'll let her have that. So we know that Irish. Do we know any Irish people?
My friend has Irish grandparents.
Okay, and we've got Irish neighbours, so we know Irish people. Right. Let's make it a bit more difficult now, right? Do you know any Polish people?
Yes.
Good. Polish is on the list. Russ?
Yes.
Any Lithuanians?
No.
I know a Lithuanian, Russ.
Yes.
Oh, it's a one-on-one battle between me and Russ. Russ, do you know any Sri Lankans?
No.
Okay, you give me one.
Do you know any?
I do know. Yeah.
Sorry, I know. Sorry, I do know one Sri Lankan.
Oh, he's changed his tune now. Go on, and you've got to give me a country. Now, you've got to genuinely know somebody from this country for it to be valid.
I know one Sri Lankan. Sierra Leone.
Has he got your feet?
I know somebody from Malawi.
It's not the same.
No, it's not the same.
Slightly different, mate.
I don't know anybody from Sierra Leone, so Russ wins. That was the most pointless game we've ever played on the Kindness Project, but we'll take it, won't we? Do you know somebody from this country? Isn't going to catch on anytime soon, I don't think. But
the only way you win is by expanding your social circles.
Well, I now need to know somebody from Sierra Leone. Who do you know from Sierra Leone, Russ?
It's quite tenuous, really. When I was younger, I had a social worker. He was called Somali Tarawali, and he was from Sierra Leone.
Somali Tarawali. What the
Somali Tarawali. I never forgot it. It's the strangest name I've heard.
Surely you'd expect a bloke called Somali to be from Somalia. And
oddly enough, I can remember he used to drive around in a Mazda when Mazda wasn't so cool.
Mazda's not cool now. Somali Mazda driving Somali Tarawali from Sierra Leone. I like it. That is he sounds like the weirdest detective story ever. Anyway, we'll get to the question.
He does his entire investigations in the Hawaiian shirt.
Did he wear a Hawaiian shirt?
Talking of detective stories, can I just quickly tell you about something I see on TikTok yesterday?
Yeah, go on.
Down with the kids' TikTok.
There's a guy that does TikTok murder mysteries.
Oh, I love that.
He sings right through it.
I love those. Those are so cool.
Well, tell me, Charlotte, you tell us what a TikTok murder mystery is.
Yeah, it's this guy and he does a TikTok murder mystery, but he does it in song, but I can't remember the guy's username. I've actually found a murder mystery musical during lockdown that was produced during lockdown that I really like.
Called
A Killer Party.
Oh God, yeah. Very good. Oh no, I've seen it. Anyway, the question of the week, or question of the podcast today, tour in London town today, and I'm sweltering, is what makes you proud of the country you're from? Because regardless if your name is TikTok Telawali, No, I've got his name wrong. What's his name?
Somali Tarawali.
And he drives the...
I'm so hope he's got a really popular TikTok account, and his nickname's now TikTok, because it'd be Somali TikTok Tarawali, which I think was.
I don't think he has, because I tried to look him up on Facebook a little while back, but I couldn't find him.
Oh, that's a shame. I want to know whether he's still got his Mazda.
Enough talking of looking him up on Facebook. It was
sorry, whose show is this? You're meant to be the producer.
She doesn't get his time.
Hold on, Russ. You've never spoken so much on a podcast in your life.
Let me just tell you this, though. It's surprising how many people there are called Somali Tarawali.
It's a common name, I guess.
Is it? Let me just Google it now.
No, we haven't got...
Oh, right, okay. I'm going to be Googling. Listeners, unofficial question of the podcast. Are you surprised that Somali Tarawari is quite a popular name? I'm pretty sure you are. Anyway, on another subject, the question of the podcast is, what makes you proud to be from the country you're actually from? Russ, what about you?
I've been that makes me most proud is, well, I don't know really. Bangers and mash.
Bangers and mash. How about you, Charlotte?
I don't know.
See, I given what's happened in the past couple of weeks, particularly with England losing and the absolutely disgraceful way that the England players are treated, I tell you what I'm most proud of. I'm most proud of the majority of people who jumped on social media and commented and went out into Manchester to support Marcus Rashford and do all that sort of stuff, believe in treating people kindly.
But the thing is there something to be proud of when it should be a given?
But you know what? I think sometimes what we need, and it's a weird one, because what we need is that loud minority coming up and going, with awful behaviour to show how kind and nice and gentle we can actually be. Like the fact that somebody wrote an obscene word on Marcus Rashford's mural in Manchester, and hundreds of people in reaction went out and reacted in a really kind way. So I think that tells me that the majority of people are generally kind. And again, I know it's not a uniquely English trait. But, Marcus Rashford signifies for me what it means to be English. Hardworking, focused on helping people and being kind, using his profile for good, and very, very positive. The way that all three footballers have reacted, for me, has shown class. What do you reckon, Mas?
I think it's important to remember not just that, but people in general sort of being more community orientated.
Yeah.
All through the last couple of years and the pandemic, some of the groups that were set up and some of the kind acts that have been done.
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes, I think those kind acts have probably always been around, but we've just been more, we know about them more, so it's great to see. So, but, you've probably got, dear listener, you've got your own perspective on what being from your country of choice means to you. We'd love to hear your thoughts on it, particularly if your name is a country, but you're not from that country of origin. I'm talking to you, Somali Tarawali. If you write in, you get bonus points.
There's not a point system, but okay.
You get 10 points.
There's not a point system, but okay.
Asterisk, points don't mean prizes.
Points don't mean anything.
Points don't mean anything. But you can get in touch with us in the following ways.
On Twitter, you can get us at Honor Kindness. If you go on Facebook and type for Kindness Project into the search bar, you can find us there. We should be the first one that comes up, and if not, we'll sue. Just joking. Sorry. If you go into the search bar and type the Kindness Project, we should be the first one that comes up.
And if you're not searching for us, the only search bar you want to be using is the name of Somali Tarawali Germany there are.
Okay. And then if you want to email us, it's honor@thekindnessproject.co.uk. We don't talk about MySpace anymore because unfortunately we have been banned.
We haven't been banned from MySpace. We haven't been banned from MySpace. It's just there's no point.
There's no point in MySpace anymore.
There's only one bloke using it now. His name's Somali Tarawali, and that's the reason it's not on Facebook. Russ, have you checked MySpace for Somali Tarawali?
If we were on MySpace, we might as well call this a Tumbleweed Project.
Anyway, I think we need to do a bit of virtual high five. Bang, bang, bang. Yeah, should we do a real one because we're in the same room? High five, Russ. Because the numbers are going up for our visitors. So thank you, dear listeners, for watching us. And then we shall get on with the show.
Let's do it.
So we've got the second part this week of the interview with Sue Fishpool. Sue is on representing an amazing charity called Accuro. What I would recommend you do is, if you haven't listened yet, listen to part one of the interview, which was last week. And this week we are going to have a chat with Sue about a bit more about the charity. Should we listen?
Let's do it.
Help me understand a little bit about what so if there was one thing, because and again, the testimony you gave at the start was interesting in terms of the boy who was benefiting from Accuro service struggled to fit in at school and not enjoy his school as much. If you had a magic wand, what was one thing you'd change about education or society to make it easier?
Is there one thing? I don't think one thing would work. I think it must be really tough if you're in the education sector at the moment. I know, for example, my daughter's at a school that has responded really, really well to the pandemic. I think they've been really, really good. Yeah. But I know that it's like all of us. We're all hit with something, aren't we? And we'll have to learn how to deal with it. I actually think that teachers and the education system needs to. I suppose it's because I come from an era 30 odd years ago. There just wasn't as much red tape, and the thing that is really difficult for everybody now is to be resilient, and that is really, really tough. And I think we cotton wool the kids a little bit too much, but we do that because we know that there are these external factors that are, it makes them really vulnerable. But I just feel that my daughter is in a position where she's not able to find out about things and learn about sort of, just just the normal way life goes, really, because
And
they're so
fail
protected.
sometimes as well,
Mm.
right? You know,
I,
that's
I I think that you learn so much from failure,
Mm.
and it teaches you how to get up, brush yourself off, and go again.
Yeah.
So gosh, I don't know what one thing. I honestly don't know how to answer that, because in my mind there's about so much.
A
But
million.
make it holistic as well. Just make it about the whole child, not about academic results, not about, but getting that really rounded human being out the other end would be just wonderful.
I think you're right. You know, I think the education. Your daughter's a teacher. I'm assuming.
No,
Oh,
no,
right. Okay.
no,
Okay.
no, no. My little one's in a secondary school,
Yeah.
but yeah.
So I think the interesting thing is I don't know, and again because it's such a big machine education, I don't know whether it's changed enough from when we were at school to just adopt this new age. You know, it's we're in this world where just the results you get on your GCSEs and A levels aren't the world anymore, are they? It's it's interesting.
Yeah. And when we were at school, I don't know about you, there was no expectation to go to university. It wasn't, and then it seemed that there was, and now it seems to be going back again. I think that's more realistic.
I mean, there was from my dad. And I didn't go. I had started a job and sort of got a started studying professional qualifications as opposed to going down the sort of university route, and that worked really well for me personally. Charlotte will go, but then there's always that element of getting the balance right between you know what I think we're as a family, and I don't know what you're like, Sue. I had this conversation yesterday about what do we want from our kids. You know what I want? I want my kids to be happy.
Don't we?
That's what I want.
Absolutely. That's all you need, isn't it? Just be happy in who you are, who you're with, and enjoy your life. Just enjoy yourself.
Enjoy it, and I want them to have purpose, and I want them to be educated, and I want them to do have a career they love, because I do think that contributes to purpose and happiness and well-being. But don't kill yourself to do it. It's having that more rounded perspective. I think you're absolutely right. Now, one thing you mentioned, because I feel like we could talk about life all day, but I'm conscious that your husband has got a training session in the same room.
Does,
so we need to crack on, don't we? I mean,
you don't want grunting in the background, Chris. You really don't.
I've done my star jumps and my burpees this morning already, so I feel like I'd be experiencing earlier vicariously if I heard it. But one of the things that we talked about is lockdown and the impact on all charities, but particularly charities where an element of the support you provide is about getting people together. So I'd imagine it's been a tough year for Accuro.
Yeah, but my operation colleagues have been fantastic, because they very quickly, everyone was in shock, I think, last March, but very quickly they were able to work out how they could deliver online. Zoom has been a real bonus, it has to be said, but all the clubs were able to revert to online delivery. So we would have a rota, really, and a program where in the evenings, because most of our clubs operate in the evenings, you would actually have a Zoom session. It doesn't suit everybody. We do have some of our members who would actually not find the Zoom community easy, because it can be chaotic if you have a lot of people on a Zoom call and it's too noisy and people are cutting in on each other. It just doesn't suit some of our members. But we kept connected with everybody by having personal calls, welfare calls, really drop-in calls, talking to families and the parents as well, and saying, how's it going? Can we help? What do you need? And sending out packs. So, for example, one of our young members, Ash, he really didn't find the Zoom calls were good for him at all. But we sent out a quiz that was tailored towards what we knew about him and what his interests were. And his parents actually came back and said we had the most lovely hour where we actually sat at the kitchen table doing the quiz that Accuro had sent, interacting with our son, who normally doesn't interact with anybody. So there was a real value there in what we were able to give him, and he connected with his own family. So it's different for different people. And the good thing that we've been able to do is, because we know our members very well, we've been able to tailor sessions towards some interests. So for example, with our adult friendship scheme, we had a baking competition, because we know there's at least 5 that are mad baking fanatics. It wouldn't have suited the guys that were more interested in gaming and stuff like that, but then you have maybe something that will suit them. So you have to just be careful that you're sort of ticking everyone's boxes at some point, really.
It's just been about providing that support virtually.
It is, and phone calls and doorstep visits. So during the Christmas, we had people in different tiers, because before Christmas we had a bit in tier 2 and a bit in tier 4, but we were able to do a doorstep visit with a present to see people face to face. You really learn how people are getting on, even if you're only seeing them for 5 minutes on the doorstep. And that was great, because there are a couple of people you're able to pick up on and go, we need to check in more there. We've got to make sure that this is, that this is okay. And they were really successful. People really enjoyed that. And absolutely everyone was given the feedback, can't wait until we could get back in face to face again. But we did really try and give as much support as we possibly could, when you're thinking about the fact that fundraising wise and money coming in, income is diminished, so you have to furlough some staff. So you're trying to do the best you've got with the resources available.
It's been a difficult balance for a lot of charities over the last
I think
year,
it has. It really has. We are a team in operations that are mostly part-time, so it's not been too bad. But for us in fundraising, it's been really, really difficult. We've gone for virtual events and things, but you don't get the same responses. So it's a tough time.
I mean, one of the things that really sort of I love a good story. I love a good story. And one of the things that I really love about your website, when I was reading through it, doing my research, was just the in your words stuff. And I'd recommend that our listeners check out those stories, because they're really good. What's your particular favourite?
Well, I did all of those in June last year. I literally had a week where I was working full time before I went into another 3 weeks of permanent furlough, and I just so ring up as many people as you can find to talk to them about their experiences.
If we never hear the word furlough again, it won't be too soon, will it? Do you know what I mean? I've never heard the word furlough a year ago. And we were lucky at because we didn't furlough anybody, but it was just, and interestingly, the reaction was people like you who want to do good work. But the commercial sensibilities of the organisation meant that they had to use furlough. So,
indeed.
Should we ban furlough from the vocabulary?
We should. It's got that kind of. It was helpful. It was incredibly helpful. But 100%. It's so linked with this moment, isn't it? This sort of the pandemic. It really is. So I've only been with the charity since January last year. So I'd only been really going into clubs and meeting people for 2 months, which meant that I managed to get into 3 clubs, and then that was it. Everything stopped. So for me, it was a wonderful opportunity to be able to talk to some of our beneficiaries and actually learn their journeys as well. And there were 3 that really stood out, but one was talking to Liam's mum, who was the testimony that I gave to you earlier, because it really allowed me to understand how a child can be in a mainstream school. And when I think about it, I know children that have been in my children's classes, and you think that was what was going on, and how that child really was in a very tough place, really difficult, and how Accuro was able to give them the tools to understand that they are okay and that they should be who they really are, and that we should embrace that. And that was a wonderful conversation.
How important do you think it is for you, sort of on the fundraising side to really understand the impact of the work.
It's critical. It's absolutely critical. We need to understand the difference that our charity makes, so that as I'm talking to you or anybody, we can actually get that message across. I mean, you talk to some families that unless they'd had that intervention or just that support or the ability to pick up a phone, they could be in a crisis that it would have not been, you couldn't have withdrawn from it. It would have been really critical. But the other story that I really enjoyed was actually talking to one of our volunteers, Katie, because I worked with volunteers for years, and for her to be able to really tell me about what her journey was and why she became a volunteer. And the joy of it is, since we've come back into face-to-face clubs, she now has got a part-time role with Accuro, so she's now one of our members of staff. So she's gone from a young teenager who was interested in working with people that had disability to working with Accuro to now having a job in that which is just a lovely journey.
Yeah.
And she you meet people that they just immediately have that empathy and just get what you're doing, and that's lovely. It really is. I felt at the end of that week, I thought that's the best week's work I've done for a long time. Being able to
you're fired up, ready to go, and then
and then I picked up my knitting.
Are you a knitter? What do you knit?
I knit socks.
What's your knitting project at the minute? What have you got on?
Socks.
Any particular colour? Is it? You don't go anything.
Yeah, I just really enjoy. I like the fact that they are in the round and you don't have to make them up. They're small projects, so it doesn't take too long. And also, people love them as gifts. It's a lovely thing to give a pair of home knitted socks. So I have people giving me orders. Can you knit that? Yeah, that's fine.
Amazing, Sue. I know where you are.
Matching mittens as well, so little fingerless gloves and things like that.
So let me ask you a sock knitting related question, nothing to do with the charity. What's the favourite pattern you've ever knitted on a pair of socks?
I like using what's called a DPM, like a double. It's got the needles is both ends, and it's one that I've kind of cobbled together from different knitting patterns that I don't have to look at anything. I can just reel it out. Yeah. So the heel, there's loads of ways of knitting a heel, and I do a slight ribbing so that they stay on the foot and they don't go baggy. That's my favourite pattern. It's just over years. You just go, this is how I like to do it. Yeah.
I mean, before we talk. Turn into a knitting podcast. We better go back to talking about the charity. But that sounds like a really good pair of socks. I might have to put my order in. So talk to me, because I suppose charities we've spoken to in the past, and sort of purely focus on sort of young people and supporting young people, but. The bit when I sort of did the research for this interview that really was interesting was that adult friendship element, and making sure that you support people throughout their youth, but also as they get a bit older. Tell me a bit about that.
Well, if you have a group of friends that you've made in one of our youth clubs, two things. Firstly, your friendship doesn't end because your club ends, and your disability doesn't end because you're suddenly an adult. People have a disability for life. Learning disability is for life. So to support people on the journey all the way through their lives, to know that they've made friendships, that they have that space, that place where they know that they can totally be who they really are, is really, really key for giving people the confidence, the self-esteem, everything that you need as an adult to go out into the world. And it is really very much a social environment. So it is a sort of small social groups, but it's activities that you might not be able to do if you weren't involved. So the one club that I managed to get to with the adults before lockdown was Chair Zumba. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I was really tired by then. It was fantastic, but everyone got involved, and it's just a lovely way of bonding people.
Chair Zumba involved?
You're just sitting in your chair, but you're doing all your,
Are you doing your moves?
Yeah, you're doing your moves. The records, and it's absolutely brilliant because it's so inclusive. So if you have somebody who's a wheelchair user, they can still do the upper body stuff.
Okay.
It's about allowing everybody to be involved in about being as inclusive as possible. And the other thing is, with adults with disability, they are so much more going to spend their time indoors than outdoors. So if we can do things like walking groups, walk to the pub, get a coffee, walk to the cafe, get a coffee, find new, opportunities for people to then maybe go and do that for themselves, but they haven't got the confidence to go out walking on their own. That's really useful, and it's a great skill to have, so that you can maybe
100%.
use a map, maybe use, go onto Google Maps and find out a new route, that kind of thing. Using and we talked about digital and about tech, but actually having the opportunity to teach people about apps that might help them, how to shop online, how to stay cyber safe, those kinds of tools. And you need to have a longer transition really as you move into adulthood as a person with a disability, because you've got to learn more skill sets, and you've got to find out about things. So we give those opportunities.
I suppose the other element is that learning those skills of independence as they move forward in their lives. It's important, isn't it?
Yeah. And support changes. Maybe where you live is going to change. There's a lot of really big transitions that happen between the age of 19 and 25. And I know we'll be talking about new stuff, but we've got some new services as well for those age groups, because they need support, and there's not a lot out there at the moment. So, yeah.
So I mean, you're doing the links for me, so I don't even need to be here, do I? So tell me what's new. Tell me what's happening that's new.
For our young adults, we have got two services, and one of them is a young adult friendship scheme, because if you are 19 or 20 and you may go to a social group where actually everyone's playing dominoes, that's not really going to tick your box. So we want to have a younger cohort that have moved up and moving into adulthood together, and then they will be doing the activities that are going to be more for their peer group,
sort of
really.
Transitional group. That makes sense.
Yeah, and it's going to be more for their peers, and for them. So there'll be different activities really, but still social. But the other thing that we are going to be providing, and this will be in Harlow and Uttlesford, is something called Stride. And Stride stands for Skills, Togetherness, Relationships, Inclusion, Diversity and Equality. And they are actually going to be a series of workshops that we are really going to be trying to deliver. And we need projects around skills for young people. So I've got a list of some of them here, but it will be things like healthy eating and exercise, things like employability, CV writing, finance, that kind of thing, cooking. And then we will be compounding some of the skills that we've learned by them. Maybe someone cooks a meal for the whole group, that kind of thing. Digital skills, transport, staying safe when you're outside, how to get in a cab, how to pay, that kind of thing. We'll be talking about things like personal cleanliness, safety, the community engagement, so maybe trips out, that kind of stuff, getting on trains. And then we will be doing sort of hobbies and recreation. So what can you be doing? I do my knitting. What could we be doing? How can you find these sort of recreational skills that you can then get involved with? Because that is how we further our friendship groups, isn't it? And how we further the lack of isolation that we feel by getting involved in other projects.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. We've had this conversation on the podcast before, but certainly, what and again, this isn't from personal experience; it's just from conversations I've had. What I've heard is that particularly if there's a learning disability, sometimes doing something allows people to then talk, and having that activity then just engages a conversation that might not happen if it was right. Tell me how you're doing.
I mean, it's like a lot of things like mental health is a big thing at the moment, and people talk about the stigma with mental health, but there is a stigma with disability, and a lot with learning disability, because it's not apparent when you meet someone. And it's we need to break those barriers down and give people time, patience, kindness, all those things to integrate into our own society and our own friendship groups.
It sounds like what Accuro are doing is just creating environments for those things to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
They don't happen on their own, do they?
No, and the reason why for young people these groups are starting is because there isn't anything. there is definitely gaps and we need to fill them, but it's got to be constructive. And so the outcomes have got to be, education and learning really. And so they'll be starting in September. And we do have another service, which is going to be Saffron Walden initially. And that will be a stay and play group for under 8s with a disability, but also for parents, because when you learn about initial diagnosis, it can be a scary place and it can take a long time to be able to actually work out how you're going to proceed. And it gives parents also an opportunity to talk to each other, to make their own friendships with other people in the same position as them, get the signposting they need, find that safe haven where they can come in and be open about their experience and what they're
build
going
a parental support network, right? So important.
And you start your children then on that sort of Accuro journey at a very young age, where you know what the other services are. So if you're in Saffron Walden, at the age of 8, you can go to Saturday Play Club and have that 4-hour group on a Saturday. There's there's a youth club at 11 that you can go to in an evening, and so it goes on. So it's a good place to have our families start their journey, really. So.
Love that. Absolutely love that. Tell me a little bit about what's new fundraising wise, because we are speaking at a time when the world is slowly getting back to normal. What I bet you're quite excited about the future at the moment.
Well, it is exciting, but there's still, we do obviously have our supporters, a lot of very vulnerable, so there is resistance still about getting out and about, and I think that it's going to probably take until the autumn before we're in a place where we can actually, because you've got to think about the energy you put into a fundraising event, whether that's actually you're going to get enough people to get it to work. So I think we've still got about 3 or 4 months before we really are going to put our energy into putting anything on. But we're doing virtual stuff, so we will be doing hybrid events going into the future, and that means something like our Santa Dash that we do at Christmas. It will have a physical element, and that would probably be either in Dummo or Harlow or somewhere like that. But then you can do it virtually, so anyone can do a Santa Dash. We'd send them out the suit, and they can run in their garden if that's what they want to do. Yeah. But it's still like a sponsored event, a challenge event. But in terms of fundraising, events have been really difficult because a lot of the events that we would be tapping into, things like skydives, marathons, that kind of thing, all cancelled. So that income is not there. An awful lot of our corporate colleagues that we work with, they are still working independently at home. So they're not doing the team events that they would normally be doing. So that it has gone. And obviously in the community, with things like the quiz nights that we'd normally be running and all those sorts of events, none of that either. Yeah. So it's going to be a slow progression, I think, as people become more confident. But it kind of, there was on the news today talking about the Indian variant and that there might be local lockdowns and things like that. So there's still this element of real
uncertainty.
It's still there. So we're looking at things like talking to people about, would you like to become an Accuro champion, which would be setting up just a small direct debit every month, which would be able to assist us. It can be done remotely. It's all good. We're going to be talking to people about whether they have thought about legacy fundraising, or whether they want to do something like a lasting power of attorney and maybe give a small donation at that point through their solicitor. That is the kind of thing that we can be talking about. But skydives are back, app sales are back. There are a lot of challenge events now that are back. And if people are going, I want to break out and do something amazing, then that would be amazing. We would love to hear from them.
I mean, it's funny. I mean, I'm doing the marathon for charity in October, so I'm sort of currently really not training for that. I really need to get on with that at some point. But you know what? I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago about. I've done a skydive, which was really good fun. I had a conversation about a wing walk.
There's a place actually in West London that does it, so I can put you in touch.
Well, there's a place. I mean, because where we are, because we're in Havering, there's Damon's Hall. And my boot camp trains there on a Saturday, and it's amazing because you're doing your training, and you've got the sort of planes flying over your head. And my sort of training session said, look, should we all do a wind walk? So yeah, that might be next on my list.
Some of these things you can do without having to, like with a marathon or something like that, you've got to train. But things like a wing walk, a skydive, you can actually just turn up on the day and do something that's a real adrenaline junkie thing, but it's very much encapsulated in that day. So you don't have all that training commitment, which can be very difficult to fit in. We've all got such busy lives, and in this summer we're all going to be just trying to get around the entire family, aren't we, and eat barbecue.
Well, exactly. That's
a priority.
We're just going to be in the car traveling the UK. I think that's what we're going to be doing.
But the other thing that sorry, Chris, but just the other thing that we are doing is we're creating a long distance footpath from Loughton to Saffron Walden. It was 50 miles, and I've got some lovely volunteers that are risk assessing it at the moment. So if people just want to go out, you can do a 5 mile stretch, you can do the whole thing. I'm going to do the whole thing in October with a couple of friends. That kind of stuff is easy to do. You can just go and we will have the booklet available. You can download the booklet, find out where the walk is, or do it as a sponsored walk, and you can do it on your own or with a group of friends or whatever. So there are a lot of things that people can do to get involved.
Oh, love that. Absolutely love that. And how can our listeners, so that's a little bit about sort of our listeners. Tell me a little bit about how people get in touch with you, can hear more about the work you do. I suppose the first port of call is the website, right?
Yeah, the website for sure, but the really up-to-date, more engaging-y type stuff is definitely social media, because we put our latest stuff on there. So if you want to know what's going on in our clubs, then if you are on our Facebook, Instagram or Twitter feeds, that's the immediate, because it just goes out all the time.
Yeah. But for our generation, so MySpace, Friends Reunited, right? Is that still about?
Do you know, I never did those. But it is funny because that the people that engage on the different platforms, you kind of know what age they are.
Well, you know what's weird, right? So I use LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Instagram fan.
No.
I know people. I get the visual element of it. I quite like that. But,
but my colleague in the office who does our comms, she's in her 20s, and she has got our Instagram. It's the biggest growing social media feed that we use.
Amazing.
Because she understands it, but you show me Instagram, like, what's that? I don't get it. I don't understand, but it is growing really nicely. So anyone can go in and find us. It'd be Accuro Essex or Accuro Care Services. Follow us on there. And the brilliant thing that we really, really can do with people is actually getting involved by either engaging, liking, sharing all of those posts. And the other thing that you can do is sign up to our newsletter, because we send 2 out a month. One is ops based, one is fundraising based, like what's on. So we're doing a cook along next Tuesday, for example. You can sign up. It's my husband, because he was a chef, and we just cook along together in our kitchen, and you can cook along as well. And we're making a lovely salad. It's called a caponata, a Sicilian dish with tuna steaks and asparagus, and we just cook along together, and people love it. It's really good fun. So lots of different things that we do, and try to give people choices of what they can get involved in. So the newsletter is another brilliant way, but the website gives you the information about our services. Also,
so give us some tags.
So it's accuro.org.uk is our website, and that will tell you everything. So services, get involved in, sign up to events, and also sign up to the newsletter. That's brilliant. And the other thing that would be really, really great is if people could, just keep sharing. So things like the new services, if they're interested in that, just share that page with other people that they think might be, wanting that help.
And what we'll do from our end is make sure that once it goes out, all of the links to all of the social media is shared. So if you're listening to this and you want to hear a bit more about the charity, check out the show notes on the Kindness Project website, and certainly that's www.thekindnessproject.co.uk, and you can certainly find everything about Accuro there. So it's been an absolute pleasure. I've loved it.
Well, thank you for having me.
What a great way to spend a Friday. You know,
I've
loved
even
it.
given a cup of tea on the side, so it's all good.
Well, you know what? I went to the gym this morning and I haven't had my breakfast yet, so I'm just enjoying
Oh,
some toast.
lovely.
So yeah, it's been amazing. Thank you for joining
Well,
us.
thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Cheers, Chris.
So that was the last one of Sue. She's a bit of an amazing legend, isn't she? Cool. All right, shall we get on with the show? With
Tis the end of another podcast.
and the end
Is it really the end?
as we know.
The end? Just only the beginning of something
Is-
entirely new.
is never really the end. The end is actually the beginning, and we are in a position where the beginning of the end
Is you waffling because you can't find
me
your question?
trying to find the answers, which I now have. Last week's question of the podcast was one of our personal favourites because we have got some amazing answers to this one. It is, what's your favourite silly joke? Now, Russ didn't get the opportunity to share his silly joke. So, Russ, what's your favourite silly joke?
Yeah, so I've got two.
Go on. Then.
I crashed my new Kia. Now I've got a Nokia.
Now you've got Nokia.
Yeah, Nokia.
Right, try and get the other one a bit better, Russ.
That was good. I can't
was
remember
good.
what the other one was now.
Okay, here we go. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Europe.
You're a poo.
You're a poo too. What do you call a woman with 3 pints of beer in her head?
I don't know.
Beatrix. How do you make a snooker table laugh?
I don't know.
Tickle its balls. Man walks into a bar and says, ouch. It's Russell doing his joke. How many psychologists does it take to change a light bulb?
I don't know.
1, but the light bulb has to want to change. How many software engineers does it take to change a light bulb?
Don't know.
None. It's a hardware problem. Why is 6 afraid of 8?
Because no.
Because 7, 8, 9.
Why would that mean 6 is afraid of 8? 6 should be afraid of 7. That's
Why-
why I stumbled.
Sorry, why is 6 afraid of 7? I've
Because
got that
7,
one
8, 9.
wrong. What do you call a camel with 3 humps?
I don't know. Pregnant.
Pregnant. 2 fish in a tank. One says to the other, how do we drive this thing again? What do you call an emperor penguin, Russ?
Emperor.
Julius Freezer.
Someone's clearly got that from a penguin bar.
What do you call a chicken staring at a lettuce?
Don't know.
Chicken Caesar salad. What do you
I don't
call
know if you can count salad as just lettuce.
What do you call a woman with 1 leg?
Don't know.
Eileen. What do you call? This is my favourite. Thank you, Dave Forwards. Like, what do you call a really tiny donkey?
Don't know.
A dinky. And how do you get a Pikachu on a bus?
Don't know.
You Pokemon. And that, my friends, thank you to John Cook, Jill Bird, Mark O'Halloran, Serena Duffy, Mike Christie, Hazel Grace, Karina Murray, Cassie, Dave Forsdyke and Ben Fox for those amazingly silly jokes. We like to end the podcast on a chuckle. And that is the end, truly the end, of another Kindness Project podcast. We shall see you same time, same place next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.